No problem. No problem at all.
Who are you?
Star-Lord.
Who are you?
I'm the Geek Bubble, man.
Hey, that's what you.
No, you gotta say who. And then it'll be like, you know, the best podcast in Iowa.
Are you friends of Musical Science?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna take that! You're gonna take that! Oh shit! All the roots. And you shoot your cousin. Oh yeah.
Do you mean the
I
most?
love it.
Do you mean the most disliked podcast on Earth?
It's also the most liked.
Oh! Would you rather be hated or forgotten?
Oh. Well, welcome everyone to the Geek Bubble. I'm Grant.
I'm Dylan.
I'm JJ.
And I'm John.
Today we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, the newest Marvel movie. Before we start talking about like what we thought about the movie, let's give a little bit of summary, since most people, I think, like before this movie came out, had no idea what Guardians of the Galaxy was.
You want to give a summary?
A little bit of a summary.
Okay, so
you have Chris Pratt's character Star-Lord, and Star-Lord, he's kind of like a low-life bounty hunter sort of guy. You know what I mean?
he's a rogue.
He's a rogue. He's not necessarily a bounty hunter, but he just kind of gets treasures and.
Kind of like a Han Solo.
He's a Han Solo Indiana Jones love child.
Yes.
And he finds an orb. And this orb is wanted by basically everyone. So
this MacGuffin is
is wanted by everyone. And basically, throughout the movie, he meets up with kind of a interesting cast of characters that include a tree with 3 words that he can say.
His name's Groot.
I am
Groot.
Voiced by Vin
Diesel.
Diesel.
Voiced by the Iron Giant.
a raccoon voiced by Bradley Cooper, Rocket.
Did you guys actually realize that was Bradley Cooper? Like I knew
I
going into it.
but throughout the movie,
I
I
couldn't even tell. Like I was like, oh,
which props Bradley Cooper for that. He meets a giant green brute named Drax, who
Is he
green?
I would say he's
like gray.
He's kind of grayish.
He's a
he's
gray with
gray
red.
and red.
Okay,
Yeah.
He's like a muddy green kind of.
so he's green. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
And then
Yeah.
a pretty hot assassin,
Gamora.
Gamora. So, and
Daughter
these guys
of Thanos.
form the Guardians of the Galaxy, and
It's
together
all
their
done.
goal is to guard the galaxy against evil. I mean,
well,
that's
no,
pretty-
not now. They're not the Guardians of the Galaxy when this movie starts. Kind of just like the Avengers aren't the Avengers.
When-
Avengers
yeah.
starts.
Well, they have to come
they,
together.
They come together. They're kind of form a team out of necessity. You know,
They're like a ragtag team.
But they're
they don't want to work
but
together.
here's the
They
thing,
have
like,
to.
they're like the Oakland Raiders.
They all had their own motives, and then
But
reasons
the
brought
thing
them
that makes them
together.
different than the Avengers. So there's many, but one of the key things is they are not good people.
Right.
Okay, like there's that big money guy kills people. The raccoon is like gun crazy. That's the big that's one of the things I thought was awesome about this movie, is that it established that each of these characters aren't like your Iron Man and your Thor, right? They're pretty low lives for everything concerned.
I mean, it's saying something that the whole movie starts out with them seeing who can outsteal each other. Like,
Yeah.
But I don't know about you guys. This movie shocked me how good it was. Like,
Shocked.
it did, because I remember 2 years ago when they announced Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm like, what the hell is Guardians of the Galaxy? And then when I saw the trailers, I'll be honest, I wasn't impressed.
Honestly,
Yeah,
when I heard that it was actually doing this, like they were actually doing Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, that is so stupid. What are you trying to do? The trailers what got me going. If they don't take this seriously and they make it more of a comedic film, I think that this could work really well. And that's what the trailer told me. And that's why I was like, this could be good. Prior to the trailer, I didn't think so. This is one of those trailers that I saw, and I was actually kind of like,
intrigued you more.
Yeah,
It was a good trailer in terms
Yeah.
that it didn't actually really reveal much.
Nope.
It just kind of says, "Ha, yep, come watch."
I'll admit, I thought it was gonna be bad.
I thought it was going to be
I thought it was
bad.
gonna be bad till the end.
And you know what?
Yeah.
Everyone knows I'm a Marvel fanboy. I love the Avengers. It's better than The Dark Knight franchises.
You're right.
And I love all these individual Marvel Studio movies. I can watch them all day. I think they're awesome. But even I was kind of a little bit skeptical if this movie's going to be good. And it's coming from James Gunn. And the movie I saw from James Gunn sucked, I'll be honest. It's called Super.
Oh, I thought I was like, do you see Slither?
I did not. I refuse to see Slither just based off the poster. But
So
I don't.
His previous movies haven't been good.
They've been like B.
Well, I mean,
B movies.
Slither's alright.
The one I saw was garbage.
I haven't seen
Super
Super.
is garbage. They're both B movies. We'll say he produced at best 2 average, below average B movies, and then they give him this property that no one heard of.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, Marvel, you're gonna have to make something pretty impressive here, and they did. I love this movie so much. Oh my god!
I'll go a step further on you and say that I think this is the best movie that Marvel's put out right now.
Easily.
Today.
Actually.
Yes.
Like,
Well, I don't know about easily, but I will say.
I did forget Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
That's the only one that I think can actually like fight
Contested.
this one.
Yeah.
For like the #1 slot, but this destroys the Avengers.
I think The Avengers is a movie that you guys love to like hate on the more you think about it. But you gotta remember when you
Yes.
first came out of The Avengers, all of you were ecstatic.
Oh,
about it.
yeah.
You actually
Yeah,
all
that's
saw it before I did because I was busy that weekend. And you're like, great, this movie is incredible. And then the more like the years go on, you're more like, but it's not better than The Dark Knight Rises. And I'm like, well, it's not.
You know what happened? Honestly, was
It came
we saw,
back down to
we saw
earth.
it again.
Yeah. No, that was
like,
that.
well, you know,
right there because it's all fluff. And the second time you see it, you're like, there's nothing beneath the surface of this movie.
The really
Once
funny
you've
jokes.
seen it,
Yeah.
you've seen it. There's nothing else redeeming about this movie.
I disagree.
But hey,
I
this
find
isn't about the event.
Yeah, it's not.
But
Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think this movie might hold up even better the second time I get around to seeing this. Because it did a lot of things better than The Avengers. I'll say that.
Well, and what it has is it has real, like, human, like, heart to it. Like, I think that's like the one thing that makes this film so grand, is that you can tell, like, this is the first Marvel film I've actually seen where you can really actually feel the love of the characters. And like, maybe that's how James Gunn got this job. He just came to Marvel, he's like, give it to me because I'm the biggest Guardians of the Galaxy fan of all time.
And I think we kind of talked about where they can't take themselves too seriously. And then to me, they found the perfect line
The
between
balance, yeah.
humor and actually feeling for these characters. Because
I agree with that.
I think, like, there isn't a character in this movie that I didn't care about. Like, of the actual heroes, I thought, like, there wasn't a single weak point in that, like, team. Whereas the Avengers, you can easily point at a couple of weaker players in the Avengers.
And
Hawkeye.
And the movie actually takes the time to really develop, like, these characters and give them these emotional moments. And then actually, like, execute it really well. Like, I think that's part of the reason this works so well is, like, not only in just, like, these emotional moments, but you just get moments where it's, like, the film's like, look, we got Groot and Rocket Raccoon on screen. Isn't this awesome? Like, it really loves itself.
A lot of the humor in this movie isn't, like, the, like, physical, laugh out loud, dumb Robert Downey Jr.'s or punches. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was a lot of, like, the camera would not get off a raccoon shooting a machine gun, and the way they shot it, I couldn't stop laughing. Like, they just kept, like, zooming in. They're like, look at it!
What's great? They're making action figures for these movies, or this movie now. And one of them is Rocket Raccoon, and the shot that they're doing to, like, advertise it is, oh, yeah. That's it. Like, it seriously is. I saw it on TV, and I was just like, oh my god, that's great.
Do you guys have a
I'm
favorite
a-
character?
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say my favorite character was Drax.
Drax?
Hear me
All
out
right.
on this.
All right.
I went into this movie being like, this movie, it will not work if the raccoon and the tree aren't lovable, right?
Right.
So I knew that they're probably going to put a lot of focus to make those two good. But when I saw this big green brute played by WWE wrestler, I believe David Batista, I was
No
like,
way.
I was like,
Awesome.
I'm like, there's no way that guy's going to hold up. And Drax, not only was he hysterical, there's actually some, like, deeper acting moments within Drax. If you
He's
like,
got,
right.
he's great, like, deadpan humor.
And
but
he has
also,
perfect delivery.
his like his story and his backstory is very human and very relatable.
and the way he
Probably the most out of all.
portrays it, like, yes, he's a ridiculous character. They all are. But he surprised me that he was actually, like, a character who you kind of felt
You
for at
feel
a
for the
point.
guy, definitely.
And I was like, man, this WWE wrestler, he has a little bit of acting chops here.
I like the humor that comes from him too. He's like he's so literal that
Yeah,
they have so many jokes that like just against his character.
Yeah.
I like the way they do that
And-
with all the characters too. Like there's,
I think
He gets those acting chops from his time spent in
In the
WWE.
WWE,
That's
yeah.
what you gotta realize, man.
I think Daniel said it really well. Our friend Daniel, who should show up on this podcast more often, but now he's just a special guest, I guess. That not every single Guardian of the Galaxy had to be a Robert Downey Jr. to be funny. Like,
Right.
whereas the Avengers, I think there's a little bit of truth to the statement that everyone has to make a dumb, witty Tony Stark one-liner to be memorable. This
a little
movie,
bit of truth.
I'm not backing
Okay.
down.
Okay.
But this movie, each of the own characters had their own distinct thing that was kind of funny and made them lovable. Like Raccoon, the Rocket, loves guns, and just like, and Groot is just, oh my god, Groot's so cute. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is. There's something about Groot that was like, I don't know how you're animating a tree like this, but I love this tree.
I'm gonna go ahead and say I think Groot is probably my favorite. I love those gentle giants like Ed from Ed, Ed and Eddie. You know, like just those the lovable giants. I don't know.
Although I will say this, I saw like a behind the scenes documentary that was like, Vin Diesel's like, yeah, man, I had to know every situation. I gave all my heart to all my lines. And I'm like, really, Vin Diesel? Because all you say is, I am Groot. And it really, it doesn't,
I
doesn't,
felt
like-
it, man.
you
I
felt
it.
okay, because I was like,
I am Groot.
because there's like one scene where like, it's like, I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. Like, I'm like,
I
really?
am
Did you have to know the situation? Because you just
It's like Ron Burgundy. I am
Groot. But I can see why Groot would be one of your favorites.
He's got a lot of good moments. You know.
Yeah.
They're great.
John, who's your favorite Guardian of the Galaxy? You know what? Hell, they're all lovable.
Yeah. There's no wrong answer.
There's not a
I'd
bad
say
one.
it's probably Star-Lord.
Oh, you
Star-Lord.
motherfucker, you taking it from me.
Star-Lord! I think that, like, one of the reasons this movie works so well is because Chris Pratt is just,
Does
he's
really
awesome
well,
in this
yeah.
film. And, like, not only is he a good action hero, but he's got really great comedic timing,
Mhm.
which is what should come first to Chris Pratt. Because at the beginning of this film,
I was
he's
just
so
gonna say
funny.
that.
He wins me over
I,
right away.
I was
Yeah.
laughing so hard at the beginning of this film, and we don't want to ruin it, obviously, but it's totally, it's not in delivery. It's totally just in body language of what he does. It's so well done.
Honestly, like, the first part of this movie, they pull the cheap sadness thing. That's everyone that I've
They
talked
pull The Last of Us, Dylan.
Yeah.
They do.
Except The Last of Us worked. No, for this one, like, that's what a lot of people seem to actually know. Like, when I talk to other people about, oh, have you seen Guardians of the Galaxy? No, I haven't, but I heard that the beginning's really sad. And it's like,
It
okay,
is.
the beginning of the movie I felt was just kind of like a cheap thing going on, and I didn't really feel a whole lot from it. I got pulled in, though, at the scene that we were just talking about, and I was like, alright, I'm ready to go, let's do this. And then the scenes that they actually do afterwards that are, like, pulling on your heartstrings, those are really well done.
I was glad they actually started with kind of a more emotional scene. I think that was almost like an opening statement of we're going to kind of go against what Marvel usually does. We're going to try to something a little more emotional instead of being like, it's all fun and games here
Which is
in
like
the Marvel
almost
universe.
when you cast Chris Pratt, that's what you think they would be going for, right? It's just a ha-ha, kind of a fat, dumb guy, you know, you love Chris Pratt. But that's not what he is.
I agree with what you're saying, John. My issue with it is that I just didn't really...
You weren't buying what
Yeah.
the emotion they were trying to get.
Mhm.
I'm with you, Dylan.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of, like, that scene ended, I was just like, okay, alright.
It wasn't really like as engaging as I'm sure they wanted it to be
Yeah.
to me.
Can you admit that they, like, definitely towards the end, they brought
I was
that
gonna
full
say-
circle?
Yes.
Yes.
To me,
No,
like, the
no,
way they
right
tied
there,
it together, that's what made that scene retroactively much more powerful to me.
Yeah.
Is the way it tugs at you, man.
That's good. I thought that was good.
No, I do like that. There's one part in there, and that's when he's like, you know, the way that it ties together at the end. That part was the only part of that I felt. But anything else from those first, like, scenes that were going on, I didn't really care.
Okay, I understand. And one thing I'll say about a big positive I have with this film, I think one of the reasons it works so well is that it never feels like it is constrained or like it has to be tied down to the Marvel universe. There's never these like completely forced like references to other movies
To Tony
or
Stark.
the universe. It's like, we're just in space. We're just doing our thing. It really stays to itself.
I don't know if it's a spoiler to state the one connecting thing to this, so I won't.
Yeah.
But other than that one connecting variable,
Right.
there really isn't a connection to.
Even when there is that connection, it feels very appropriate.
Yeah, it's not forced. It works
totally
within the course
within
of the
the
movie.
story.
It's
It's
in the
within
story.
the narrative.
Dylan, who's your favorite Guardian?
No, I already
Are you
just
Star-Lord?
said it. I was
Yeah,
like, John
we're
took
going
it
with
from me,
Star-Lord,
Star-Lord,
I
and it's for the same reason. That first scene, he just took it from me. And there's one joke that he says later on that I can't believe made it into this movie.
yeah, I know what you're
That-
talking about.
I'm not gonna say it, but I laughed pretty hard at that one. I was like, wow.
Should we should say like we're saying Star-Lord, we're like Peter Quill, right?
Peter Quill,
Yeah, I mean,
Quill.
that's how we want to say
Star-Lord.
it, you know.
I mean, he goes. If you see the trailer, you kind of you get it. There's something else. I mean, we all said our favorite. And like I said, there's not a wrong choice, but I need to bring special attention to Rocket.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm so surprised no one here said Rocket.
Because I think
they
Rocket-
almost let him steal the show with
Rocket
us.
to me was the heart of this movie almost. A lot of what we're talking about applies to like the character of like Rocket Raccoon. Like we talk about, yes, there's humor and yes, there's ridiculousness, but there's definitely like a story to him and like a character there. Like,
What do you guys think of what's the green in it?
Okay,
Gamora?
I was gonna Gamora.
Okay.
I was gonna bring this up because I'm really curious in your guys' opinions of this. What did you guys think of Gamora?
I thought she was actually slightly weaker than I was hoping
Okay.
for.
Okay.
I think that Gamora, obviously, I don't think she was a standout as much as the other ones we're talking about, but I think there's definitely, I didn't dislike her in the movie.
There's not as much depth as the other characters, but there's still depth there, and I still cared for the character.
Because I was on the internet and I was
What?
looking at this. I was reading up with this one critic who I admire a lot, and she was saying that she thought Guardians of the Galaxy was a sexist film, and that those big problems she had was just that Gamora was like an insanely sexist character.
And I disagree
She was
full-heartedly.
Yes.
Because here's one of the best parts of Guardians is there is not a dumb romantic subplot. They didn't like force Gamora and some character to, you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
Gamora is a strong character in my opinion.
That, and she kicks everyone's ass.
What is possibly sexist about that?
Okay. How many female characters are in Guardians of the Galaxy?
The other sister.
The robots?
No, there's
It's
like,
like-
stop. There's
4.
well,
females
there's
I can
Gamora,
count.
who's her own strong character. There's Glenn Close's character who runs the Nova Corps.
She doesn't count because she's old.
What?
She's unattractive and she's old, so she doesn't count. This is we're talking about is sexist if they can be attractive and still be interesting characters.
I think that's making your own definition of sexist, and that's not appropriate because Glenn Close's character is a strong female
What
leadership.
she's saying it would be sexist and misogynistic, labeling women as an object. And since Glenn Close's character is old, they obviously won't label her as an object.
Okay.
I agree with you on this. I'm just
I think that's like saying, here's my opinion as sexist. Here's the real definition of it. This character is a strong female character. She's old and not attractive.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm just pointing out her argument on this. Okay.
I can't disagree more with her argument.
Okay. So you have those two.
I think Nebula was probably more of a side. That's who the sister is, I believe,
Mhm.
played
Yeah.
by Karen Gillian. I think she's more of a side character.
Okay.
I almost maybe even set her up for a sequel. There's. Well, this is sexist actually. There's the collector's slave girl.
And then there's also in the beginning of the movie you get that one girl who's on the ship with.
Oh, that was
Quill.
funny. Shut up.
So,
Shut up.
like, what
sexist.
she's saying is like most of them they're just like they're just like those stupid girls. And then Gamora, like her view on Gamora is that she's actually like she is still that sexy object. She's never really smart or does anything to benefit the group. She is still is very misogynistic, and she's also called like a whore too. So
Yeah.
But that's just because someone was giving a lame insult.
okay, yeah.
I mean,
Groot's also called a dumb tree within the movie. I don't think Groot's just a dumb tree. So I disagree with the argument, but I can see the truth that Gamora is not a strong character. Here's the other thing to Gamora, too, is I think she's a much more, like, every other character has their own distinct brand of humor, but it's not within Gamora's character, per se, to have such, you know what I mean?
But what I'll
And
say about
that's
that
okay.
is when we look at Drax would never, in your wildest dreams, you'd think he'd never have a sense of humor. They found a sense of humor in him. I think that they could have spent a little more time on Gamora, making her a little more
sequel. Praised the heart. We praised humor, characters, all that. Is there anything you'd harp on this movie for? Because I went back and had to think about what didn't I like about Guardians of the Galaxy. Because there really wasn't much.
So, like, I think Ronan was, you know,
Okay.
he was alright to me. Like, there were
He's
some
a
badass
Marvel
moments,
villain.
but I'm right there with you. Like, I still think that, like, they failed to find, like, an amazing villain yet. And, like, I just feel
I
like...
can see that. Especially also the Nebula character, who you were like, well, that can have an interesting story to it. At the end, she kind of fell flat. There wasn't a ton to Nebula.
I'll kind of like put him like similar to the human characters in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, is where like they didn't spend as much time, they didn't flesh him out as much because it's really not about him.
Oh, yeah. And, like, a different gripe is that I feel like, you know, there are just plenty of moments at which he could totally just wipe out the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's just like, airbrush.
Yeah,
okay,
he could
you
have
have
been way more well written. Like,
oh god.
like you should think about it, and it's like these movies are starting to be the exact same thing. Like it just implied. It's like they always have to end with them like fighting on a giant floating like destroyer carrier thing at the end to get the object.
Yeah.
In a big battle full of armies and ships. And
I think
stuff.
he looks like a badass space samurai, but you know,
Yeah.
like
I agree.
I
with
still
you.
kinda
I can
think
see
it's like,
I can see that
very
from my
generic.
gripes.
Yeah.
I can agree with you there.
I think like there's a lot of plot they had to cover here, and I think they did a pretty good job, honestly, of like covering all these things. But at the beginning, I thought it was really choppy and just like going all over the place. Like, oh yeah, and by the way, there's this thing, and there's this raccoon, and also there's Gamora, and she's this assassin, and Thanos, and like I think it was kind of all over the place. So I wasn't quite into it at the beginning. It wasn't until like half an hour in where I was like really digging it because it let its narrative take place.
I thought a little bit of the same thing with the beginning, kind of choppy, that sort of thing. But like, I was also kind of thinking at the entire time, like, this movie is like less than 2 hours, so, or it's like 2:02 by the end of the credits or whatever. So I'm like, Marvel movies are getting to be like 2.5 hours, like, as a standard now. So like, I'm actually pretty happy that it was like, wow, they did that in under 2 hours. I'm like,
I'd be honest with this movie. Like we talked about a movie earlier that the length hit in during the 2 hours. This movie went by so fast for me. They're like just because I was having such a fun time.
Did you guys think all the jokes hit? Like every joke?
I mean,
Yeah,
There were some I
could go
laughed
back-
out loud at.
Yeah, I could be like, not every joke hit,
Right.
but there were.
Most
I think the
jokes
majority of the jokes hit.
I
Okay.
can't think of a
I
giant
can say
fail.
like 90%.
Really?
This is probably
For
like,
sure.
Okay.
The
the
other 10% might
second funniest film I've seen this year.
Okay.
behind.
Lego.
Okay.
Okay. I would
22
say
Jump Street,
I'm
though?
probably around like,
I liked it more than 22 Jump Street.
Okay. Well, yeah, but okay.
I would say probably like maybe 2/3 or 3/4 of the jokes. Like I thought there were some that were like laugh out loud, but that's like a select few. Then there's some that gave me a nice chuckle, and then there were some that I was kind of staring at the screen like, I'm
Okay.
not too impressed.
Could you name one of those
Some
jokes?
that.
Because like I was thinking about, I'm like most of the jokes that they said, I actually laughed at, or I gave them like a nod, like oh that's funny.
Okay.
Like
I can't really think of the jokes right
that's
now.
why I'm saying like 90-10 because there might be a couple that I'm missing, but for the most part, I thought that all the jokes that they did
It's
hit.
almost a nitpick too. I think.
It is. I'm just saying like
No,
it's-
if he's saying like only
No, yeah.
3/4 of the jokes hit, that is like 25% of the jokes.
I can't think of a giant joke failure per se.
I don't think there was any failure. I just think
Some
there were
movies-
definite
there's-
attempts to be funny that didn't. Like I actually like understood what was like the joke was playing off of, and I'm like, like
Well,
okay.
for me, there's also some jokes that were like they were not. I wasn't like laugh out loud, but they're incredibly clever. It's
Yeah.
Like, there's one joke I don't remember that they actually like the object that is a MacGuffin, and they actually make a joke out of it. And like there's a line. I'm not gonna ruin it.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
But it's a joke on MacGuffin. I thought that was like the best writing they had. In the
Wow,
whole movie,
okay.
Because it was like that is really funny.
I
know
also
the exact line you're talking about.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
also
talk about it.
I did not go to the movie with these other three. I went with my girlfriend, and like we were late, so we were in like the back row, surrounded by a ton of popcorn eaters. So like there was actually quite a few that I'm like, what the hell did they just say? Like I couldn't hear it, but I don't know if all those were comedic times because it's not like everyone in the theater was laughing. So like definitely, hopefully next time I see it, it's gonna be like an empty theater so I can enjoy it without people around me.
God
damn it!
You named one of the biggest things about this movie, and that's it. I can't wait to see this movie again. the last couple ones, Iron Man 3 and Thor 2, I saw them. I enjoyed them. Didn't really like want to run out and go see them, right? And even Winter Soldier, I saw and I was very impressed with. And I want to see it again, but it's not like I think seeing it again would necessarily make it better.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
haven't seen it
really
since.
want to see Winter Soldier again.
I've seen it twice. Bitch. Oh, I'm just kidding.
I think Guardians of the Galaxy, seeing this the second time, I think I actually might even enjoy it more. Because I think there's a lot of heart to this movie that I just kind of want to see again. And it maybe even teared me up a little bit at parts. Like, I don't tear up easily at movies, but there were some parts that, like, there was a little tear showing here and here.
Grant, would you like to go on to final thoughts?
You know what? I think this is one of the best movies this summer. I loved it. I thought it had the perfect mix between humor and character. And to me, like, this proves you can make good movies out of obscured things. And I'm so happy to say that I love this movie. I'm going to go ahead and give it...
I know, like, you want to, but you're like,
Oh.
at the same time, I don't want to, because I want to make it special.
You know what? I'm giving this a 5 out of 5.
Oh!
First 5
I expected nothing less,
It's-
Grant.
You know what? When I love the movie, I'm like, well, that's not a 5 out of 5. But the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, this movie, man. I love this
movie,
film.
man.
And just to be clear, this wouldn't be the first 5 out of 5 I gave this summer, too. If I wasn't in the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes one, but
Okay.
to me, that's probably a little bit better of a movie, so that's why it's not the movie this summer, but
Okay.
God, I love
You have
this
not
movie.
seen Dawn?
I have, I just didn't review it.
Okay.
No,
Alright.
we Dylan.
I love this movie so much.
That
It was
beautiful.
No, it was really entertaining. Thank you.
I'm tearing up a little again.
No, I'm tearing up. It was hilarious. Loved all the characters. I loved the plot. I couldn't stop laughing. I'm giving it 4.5 stars.
So, I really don't think there's too much bringing this movie down. I just can't say I loved it. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed my time, and I think I'm going to enjoy seeing it again. There's definitely, I think, a lot more to this movie than other Marvel movies, but I have to go ahead and give it a low 4.5. I definitely don't disagree with your guys' opinions. Like, I just think it's like, we're on the same page objectively, you know, like, it's good, things are good. It's just that, like, you guys are like, I was digging it, I loved it. And I'm like, oh, I was enjoying it, you know, like, I was, you know.
I love that movie and I wanted to see it again.
Really?
Like yesterday
Okay.
when we were like, hey, what movie should we go see? Well, we're gonna go see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm like, or we could go see Guardians again.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
Ethan hasn't seen it.
I think I was going into this, I was going to give it a 4, but I think we just talking about it. I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Okay.
I just think I was like, that movie was really awesome.
John, can I say
do
I'm actually
wanna
in the
see
same
it
boat?
again.
Like, I almost, like, went on Flickster and was like, I'm putting down the 4 so I don't back down. And I'm like, God damn it. Like, Grant was like, yeah, so basically it's better than the Avengers in every way. And I'm like, yeah,
I
so
didn't
that's true.
say that, but
So,
Avengers is awesome.
I think this is really funny, and I think what we're talking about is that it's the characters and their interactions that makes them so great. So, yeah, I'm going to give this 4.5. I thought this was just excellent.
yeah.
And like, if we're talking about this year, like, yeah, if Marvel can continue the streak of making films that are just on a higher level, I can't wait, honestly, to see like the new Avengers.
But you also got to remember, Phase 2 last year wasn't the best Marvel year, I'll admit. You know, there's Iron Man 3, Thor 2, so I think they'll find happy mediums between.
Yeah, we'll see, but I just like the track that they're going.
I agree. And I actually am excited for the sequel.
I guess that, like, as a final thought for me, I thought that, like, it's kind of interesting how it seemed fresh, like, not just a typical Marvel movie, yet it still had, like,
Marvel movies.
much of the same stuff. Like, it's pretty unexplainably good.
I forgot to talk about something that I love, so I'm just gonna add it
Too
in
bad.
right now.
Too bad.
Final thought.
Epilogue
I
thought.
love the soundtrack.
Oh,
I loved it
yeah,
a lot.
okay.
I thought it was
I
awesome.
can't believe we
have
almost
that,
forgot to
yeah.
mention
Like,
that.
seriously, the entire time, I was like, this soundtrack fits this movie so
Yep.
perfectly.
And it
I
wasn't
love
like
it.
a forced in awesome
No, it
soundtrack.
wasn't. It
They had it
always
within the
fit.
story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's so good.
So,
All right.
that's my final thought.
Dylan, great
Soundtrack's awesome.
final thought. So with
That's
that,
my final
These three need to
thought.
play their leagues, so I guess we're out of here.
all right. So with that, we're signing off. Thank you all for listening. Go see this movie.
Geek Bubble. All right.
Woo!
So here we are. a thief, 2 thugs, an assassin, and a maniac. But we're not gonna stand by as evil wipes out the galaxy. I guess we're stuck together.